Second game here asks me to put things into order, one thing at a time. So you see I've got an organizational template that allows me to do that visually. The rules are that H is before R, so H is to the left of R. Second, if G is to the left of T, then so are R and S. So if I don't have both R and S coming before T, then I don't have G before T. I'll have G after T instead. And finally, H is not in between S and T, is either after them both or else is before them both. All right, let's answer questions. Question 6, if Gloria is first, what could be true? And the question is, how do you get Sonia third? Well, G is before T because G is first, so R and S are also before T. And H is before R. R and S are before T. And that's one way you could get Sonia third. Not the only way, or maybe it's the only way to get Sonia third. It's not the only way you could organize the 5 people. Question 7, a pair that could be the first and second students to perform. And you notice that if you put G and T first and second, then you're breaking this rule. Because if G is before T, R and S are also before T. But in answer choice B, Hazel and Gloria, no problems here. Hazel's before R and S and T. And here, look, H is before R. G is before T. R and S are also before T. H is before both S and T. It just fits. It doesn't break any of our rules. Question 8. A pair that cannot be the 4th and 5th to perform. Why can't you end with T and R? Well, if you do that, then I might start here. R and S are not before T, right? And if R and S are not both before T, then G is also not before. G has to be after, and now I don't have room to put G after. Answer choice E breaks that second rule, and that's why it's the right answer. Question 9, a pair that cannot be the second and third. Well, Gloria and Hazel can't be second and third. Why not? We've got rules about Hazel, right? Before R, but that's no problem. Third rule, either after S and T, and there's no room to do that, or before S and T. Okay, so she must be before S and T. Oh, but now we do have a problem with R, whoever R is, Roberto. H can't be both before S and T and before R and be third. Doesn't give us enough room. You put H third, you can't follow rules 1 and 3, and that's why it's impossible, and that's why it's the right answer. And then we'll take question 10. If Sonia's first, which must be true. Okay, if Sonia's first, then we know that T is also before H, right? You're just kind of walking through your rules. So if T is before H and H is before R, then we've either got T before H and R in some way, or T before H and R. Yeah? Well, in the second one, that would mean this is G. But if G is before T, R and S have to be before T. They're not. This won't work, which means this is our only option, and E, Toshiro, must be second. Finally, in question 11, if Sonia's fifth, what must be true? I'm going to do the same sort of thing. Here, S is after H, so T is also after H. So now I've got H before R and before T. So I've either got H before R and T in some order, or I've got H here before R and T and G. If I put H here, this has to be G, and once again I go back to my rules. If G is before T, R and S are before T. This is not right. I'm not getting G and R and S before T, which means this is my only option, and B, Hazel does have to be first. And that finishes his second game.